Good morning and welcome to the October edition of Coffee with the Pastors. It's so good to be with all of you. So I hope that you can grab your coffee mug or whatever beverage it is that you enjoy and have an opportunity to listen in on some conversation about what's going on here at Trinity Lutheran Church. And as you can see, we've got Pastor Dan, but we also have Michelle Murray with us this morning. So yeah, and she's got her coffee. Awesome. So we're just going to start out welcoming you, Michelle. So good to have you on board at Trinity. When did you start with us?
I think around May, before Jane left. And so we kind of had a little bit of time to work together.
All right, wonderful. Well, in other years, we would have, had you come to Fellowship Coffee and tell the whole long story of the life of Michelle Murray. But we'll maybe wait for that to come. But now we can get the abbreviated version of. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I tell people that I've almost taught everything with the word communication in it. Mainly, I've taught 7th through 12th grade in another life. And I've also been a traveling speaker for a college. And then I've taught for a lot of different colleges, face-to-face and online, and primarily online for the last 12 years. So that's kind of my background, teaching, speaking. And writing. Yeah, I can't forget writing. Anything communication. Yeah.
Yeah, the Globe Gazette, you're a regular part of the Globe Gazette. I love reading your editorials there.
How long have you written for the Globe, Michelle?
I think since before I was married.
Wow.
93 or 94, I think.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah. There used to be another publication called North Iowa Woman that was a monthly magazine. And Kathy, I know that you were featured in one because I saved all of those stacks and stacks. And there's a picture of you with long permed hair, I think.
What?
You were, yes.
No, Pastor Dan, I was a North Iowa Woman cover girl.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Now that's a valuable article somewhere. I mean, especially after you described that picture. I mean, I would pay money to see that.
Oh, we heard it here.
We'll have to talk later because I want to find out about this. I had no idea. Wow.
I have no idea how that happened. I was an editor and public relations director of a hair and beauty news magazine and got to travel different places. And I thought, hey, what's this North Iowa Woman? There were no job openings or anything. And I thought, hey, I'm just going to go see if they need a writer. And so I went to the office and all of a sudden I'm writing, and then I'm writing monthly, then I'm writing for the Globe. And so it just kind of happened. Sometimes I just think I would love to do this. And even if there's no opening, I just go and talk to the people. So that's how it started.
That's awesome. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your family. I mean, you and I have known each other forever because of our kids being at Stebbins. So yeah.
Well, I have 2 sons. I'm a mom of sons. And I always thought, what do you do with boys? Now I know. So now I know I'm a pretty good mom of sons. I have Nick, who is getting married on October 30th to Lauren Carlson. So we're getting excited for the wedding. And he is 24. And then Noah is 20 and he is at Iowa City. And boy, the 3 of them had to be involved a lot in our new venture at Birdsall. So I saw a lot of them this summer, whether they wanted to or not. They became good ice cream makers and scoopers. So our family really does a lot together, even though Nick and Lauren are in Waterloo and Noah's in Iowa City. So those 2, and then I'm married to Mark. We've been married almost 27 years. We've done a lot of things. It doesn't seem like 27 years because I feel like 27 years, I should be really like old and gray, but we'll never know because hair color. And, you know, I married who my mom always told me. She said, you should always look for a best friend. And I thought, yeah, I found a best friend and he still is. So that's our family. And then we have dogs. We have 3 dogs, 2 golden retrievers and a Cavachon, who I hope don't pipe into this interview.
Wouldn't be the first dogs if they did.
Yeah.
On
That's
this,
right.
so.
We like the dogs part of the Coffee with the Pastors too. Yeah. What an awesome family. So, and you know, you may not know, but one of the things that I've often said about this gathering, shall we say, is this is where you get the inside scoop on Trinity, but you could really give us an inside scoop on Borealis or on Bertzels. So yeah, tell us, probably that's what people want to know. Bertzels, yay. Oh, how did that come to be?
Well, the boys, I think, like to take credit for this because Nick and Noah and Mark were ice fishing way up north, north of Baudette, Minnesota. They were on the ice, 17, 18 miles from shore in their little ice hut or whatever. And they were saying, Dad, wouldn't it be funny? You know, you should run Bertzels. And they're like, that's a good one. And then Mark thought, wonder what's happening to that place, you know, because we keep going by and the sign says closed. And, you know, we kept going by and he thought, he's going to check more into it. So he checked into it and found some people to talk to. And then we were put on a list because apparently there were a lot of people interested. And then we didn't hear for months. And on our morning walks, we thought, someone else is probably doing it. And, you know, it would be a bad idea anyway. We would never have any time. So we had talked ourselves out of it. Then all of a sudden we get an email saying, hey, are you still interested? And we're like, yes, we are. So weird. And then we had a tour of the place with Gary and Ann Schmidt, who were also interested. And they were interested in maybe, you know, forming a partnership. And we thought, okay, let's see what we can do. And so we talked and it just kind of came to be. I think it was kind of serendipity. So yeah, it's a crazy venture when I see a lot of my classmates from high school announcing that they're retiring, and I'm thinking, oh, and I'm just working harder now. And my elbow hurts because I am not 16 anymore. It's harder than it looks, people.
It is.
Well,
It's
that's
certainly
so
been a hit. I mean, I feel like every time I've gone by, basically since you opened this summer, it's busy all the time. The community is so happy to have their beloved ice cream place back. It's really great. So
yeah, and we hear so many stories, and I think that's my favorite part of it. When people come in and they say, I used to work here for 45 cents an hour. And then they tell me their stories and how they went on dates every Friday night and sat in a certain place. And that's my favorite part.
Yeah. That's awesome.
nice. Yeah, lots of history and nice to keep it in the Trinity family, if you will, you know.
Exactly.
So, that's lovely. So, and getting back to the Trinity family, so you know, what is it exactly that you're doing for us here? So
My title, and I just want to show you this because I haven't had one for a long time. I've got a card. I don't think you can see it here, but anyway, I'm so excited that I have a card. It's sitting out all the time, so I can think I'm pretty important because I got a card. I'm the editor-writer of the Connection newsletter, and I'm doing my favorite thing, which is talking to people, learning about their stories, and then sharing their stories and taking pictures. I love to do that. I don't know if everybody really appreciates that I take pictures of them, but I make them look good.
Oh, well, and I heard that just recently, because you were doing a story and taking some pictures, that you not also got to sample some lefse. So what was that like?
Well, I've always heard about the people making lefse, and I've always seen like the little announcement about if you want to join, you can come at this time. This, it's something to be seen. It's not just a few people, making a few pieces of lefse. It's a well-oiled machine. As I've heard, Pastor Kathy is quoted for saying, they quoted you to me, and the whole kitchen is full. Well, first of all, I drove up to the church and the parking lot was full, and I thought, wow, this is something. And then you open the front door and you think, this smells fantastic. And then you just hear all of the chatter and you think, how many people are down there anyway? And everyone is in the kitchen and then kind of overflowing to the other side. Everyone has their own job. And it was amazing to me. And so I talked to a lot of the ladies, but there aren't only ladies. There are also men, and they have their own job. So I talked to them, and they gave me the inside scoop of how lefse is made. And it was pretty interesting. And I got to taste some too. So I came home and told Mark, this is the best thing when I talk to people and I find their story and I get food.
Well, they don't give out that. I mean, that lefse is so precious because of the, how what it's ultimately headed for, which is to be sold right at the bazaar,
Right.
to raise money for missions and stuff. But I mean, they don't give that. I mean, I remember I've walked through at times and there's been little debates that have broken out about whether or not I get any lefse when I walk through.
Wow.
So that's a pretty big deal that they gave you some, because it's, having seen it now, it's the labor of a lot of hard work.
I think I will appreciate lefse even more, knowing what it takes to just make one piece.
Yeah.
It's huge. And I saw your husband, Pastor Kathy, and he told me that you had told him once, you haven't done anything to deserve a piece of lefse.
Well, I mean, that's the funny story, because when I first started, I used to go down and help roll lefse, and I was like forbidden to eat the lefse. But Pastor Jim would come down every Monday, and Darlene Opedal would make him a fresh piece of lefse, and he'd sit down and he would have a cup of coffee and eat a fresh piece of lefse. And I'm going, I'm rolling this stuff and I don't get anything. And how come he does? So it's only been in very recent years that sometimes I will get a piece of lefse and I feel like, oh, I have risen to the top here. So
Yeah.
now you know how valuable you are if you received a piece of lefse. That's the ultimate.
Piece of lefse and my own card.
Yay.
That's right.
Yay. Oh, well, I hope that makes you feel like you're welcome here at Trinity.
It does. And the people, I mean, it's just like a family. And I love going because I'm used to not having coworkers for at least 12 years. And so when I have coworkers that I can see in person, that's really special.
Well, it's been great to have you on staff. I think to have I mean, our communications for years and years and years, like a lot of churches, right, the writing has been done by staff members and probably primarily by pastors, which is fine and good. And hopefully we know a little bit about communications, but I tell you, it is such a gift to have a real writer and a journalist on staff, especially now that we have this monthly magazine. Really is what it is. And we call it the newsletter still, but it's really a monthly magazine where we're trying to, as you said, tell the stories of the congregation and what God is up to in our congregation. And it's such a beautiful thing to have a real journalist on board to help us do that. And I have just felt those issues here recently have just been so well done. I mean, interesting, and the layout is beautiful, and the way that you partner with Ashley, our new communications person, on that has just been it's been fantastic. It's like a whole new thing, and it's really cool. So
I love
really-
working, I just love working with her because she just makes everything look spectacular.
yeah, wow.
Oh,
And so
Yeah.
cool that each of you have your different gifts and how that comes together in that publication. It's really cool. So
Yeah, I love it.
fantastic.
yeah, we are very blessed with so many people bringing such wonderful gifts to Trinity right now, and I love the fact that it's a fresh perspective. You know, I mean, that we as pastors have a perspective on the church, but different perspectives every time somebody different writes for the newsletter. I just always think that that's a benefit to everybody. So yeah, thank you so much for all that you're doing for us and all that you're doing for the community as well, Michelle.
Thanks for letting me be here.
All right, bye-bye.
See you
See you
later.
later.
Well, that was a fun way to tell the story of the bazaar coming up, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean that is the cue, right? I mean, here it's always when the lesson making starts in September, typically in September, then you know, right? The countdown has begun. And
Yeah,
yeah, we joke a
know.
lot about it, but it's also that's been one of those things that as we head into this fall and we've resumed so many pre-COVID things that we hadn't done for a while, having the bazaar coming up is a really big deal, right? For this year, especially with construction. We haven't been on site for what, 3 years, 4 years? I've lost track. It's
Yeah.
exciting to have the bazaar coming.
Yeah, so yeah, we were off-site 2 years because of construction, nothing except for the little bake sale that we did last year. And so yeah, now it's in our new space, and yeah, it won't be exactly or to the fullest that we imagined that it would be once we got back into our new space, but we get to do it. And you know, those aromas of lefse are in the hallways on Mondays, and the chatter is there. And so yeah, it's going to be an exciting time, and it's coming up November Wednesday, November 3rd, we'll have our preview. But what's also unique this year is that we are selling tickets for a takeout meal, the same meal that we'll be serving on Thursday. We're going to use as tickets for Wednesday night. So you could come in, kind of shop the preview, take home a Scandinavian meatball dinner. And what we're doing is doing what some folks do with their Scandinavian meals is doing different seatings. So that's one of the COVID precautions we're taking is we're selling a limited number of tickets so that we know we can spread people out a little bit more in the fellowship hall for that meal. So we've got the Wednesday night takeout meal. We've got on Thursday the 11 o'clock seating, and then a 12:30 seating for the lunch. So
Okay.
those tickets are on sale now. We will have the bake shop, and we will have the coffee shop as well with lots of Scandinavian goodies. And then we'll have the Scandinavian boutique and lots of really cool crafts that have been made by individuals, and also our classy crafters. And we're going to have books. So if people are wanting to donate to this, if people are wanting to come shop, just take a look on the website or in the newsletter about more information about the bazaar, because it's going to happen and it's a celebration.
It sounds like I mean, it may be scaled back a little bit, but boy, that sounds like a lot of what it looked like before. I mean, it's modified, but I mean, that's a lot of the main pieces that have been there. So that's really cool. And I know the Wednesday night thing has become more and more popular over the years as people that are working on Thursday maybe can't get away, or maybe they're not around on that particular day to have the evening before to basically come in and still get to experience it is really grown. I know just in my time here, from when it was just a few folks kind of getting snuck in to now it's fully open, and almost sometimes as many people as we see at certain points on Thursday. So
yeah, it's really intended for our Trinity members who are working that would like to come on Thursday but can't, which is a part of why we added a meal to it then too, because if it's a busy family and they just want to scoop by and pick up their supper and go home, this is the place to do it. So
it's
yeah.
awesome. Can't wait. It'll be great.
Yeah, well, and speaking of celebrations, before the bazaar, there's a big celebration that we've been anticipating for years and years and years as well coming up. So you want to tell us about the 150th anniversary?
Yeah, so the anniversary committee, which has been meeting for, I think we just figured out at our meeting last week, we've been meeting for 2 years now, getting ready for all of the events we've had this year, but in particular the culmination that's coming up here at the end of the month. It's been a long process and kind of a strange one in a lot of ways, because it is, you think about Trinity's 150th anniversary, and there are folks who remember the 140th, and they remember the 135th and the 125th, and what just enormous celebrations these were, particularly around worship, right? That culminating worship service, we often went out to the field house or to the auditorium at Nyack and had just one service for the weekend. We would do what they called Trinity under one roof, and to have hundreds and hundreds of people all together for one service. I think all of us thinking about the 150th, we're like, well, this is as big as we've had in a while, right? This is going to be enormous. And we're going to have all these people coming back. And then, of course, so we're making these plans 2 years ago. And then COVID happens, right? And ever since then, we've been sort of taking those plans that were on that year calendar and adapting them to try to do them as big and as celebratory as we can, but also recognizing that one of the things the respiratory pandemic does is make it really hard for big crowds to get together, right? All at one time in one place. And so I think we feel good about what we have been able to do, doing a building dedication last summer, last early fall, to kind of kick off with a parking lot drive-through. And it was kind of crazy and different, but was really fun. And we saw a ton of people that day and were able to celebrate. And then things like the courtyard barbecue concert this summer, where we did everything outdoors and were able to kick back and relax. And again, had a great turnout for that. And this coming celebration this month, as we kind of bring it all to a close, is a similar thing, where we're going to certainly have our celebration and worship on October 30th and 31st, but we're gonna, instead of our original plan of packing everybody into one or two services at church, we're gonna spread everybody out and stick with our regular worship schedule and let people come at their normal times to celebrate the anniversary. But within that, doing some really special things. So one of them is our preacher, Bishop Jones, formerly Pastor Kevin Jones, now Bishop Jones, will be our preacher, because we had planned way back 2 years ago, we wanted the bishop to come and preach on our anniversary. We didn't know it was going to be a preacher we were really familiar with, but that's kind of cool too. And going to be really fun to have Kevin back as bishop now after his installation, about a month after his installation. So that'll be really great. We have a specially commissioned.
Do you suppose that he wears tennis shoes as the bishop or not?
The word on the street is that he has not changed his footwear at all. That's what our people are telling us. Yeah, that he.
Oh my.
Yeah, he's set a new trend as bishop as well. So yeah, I pay attention to his footwear when he's here on October 30th and 31st. I think. I mean, we did get to see him wear his Hawaiian shirt for the installation last month, because as many of you know, he made that challenge around our anniversary offerings, our special $15,000 offering for ELCA World Hunger and for Habitat for Humanity of North Iowa, that if we could reach our goal of 15,000 by the installation, he would wear a Hawaiian clergy shirt. And he did, to his credit. He totally did, because we hit it about a week beforehand. So that's also a celebration for the anniversary, that we have already reached our anniversary offering goals, and anything that we're receiving now, we're just going to go ahead and give as well, above and beyond what we have pledged to each of those things. So that's been cool, and we'll continue to celebrate that. But yeah, the other thing, the worship service, we had commissioned a couple of years ago a special piece of music, a specially written piece of music. And that was done by an Iowa composer. She's actually from Des Moines, but kind of an up and coming national composer. She's written things for all state choirs in different states, for several of our church colleges. She's really getting known. Her name is Elaine Hagenberg. And Elaine has written this gorgeous piece of music that is based on a quote from Mother Teresa, where Mother Teresa is quoting that scripture about being the fragrance of Christ in the world. We talked with Elaine early on, and we said we're a servant church. On our anniversary, we want to celebrate what it means to be a servant church, to be turned outward toward the world, especially now. And she found this text and said, I really feel like this is the text that embodies what you're talking about. And we said, yeah, it does. And so she wrote this beautiful piece of music. And what's really cool about this piece of music, at our request, she wrote it in a way that will involve the choir, will involve the bell choirs, will have parts for brass, parts for the congregation to sing. So it's a very collaborative piece of music. Everybody lends their voices and their gifts, and it can be done in different styles. So we can do it at our contemporary service. We can do it for really traditional. It's amazing. And so we're going to premiere that at all the services. It'll take probably some slightly different forms each of the services, but that's how we wrote it, or how we wanted it written was for that. And so that's going to be really exciting that weekend as well. And then we're going to have some cool participation from different groups. I mean, in addition to the musicians, we're going to have our kids, our Sunday school kids are going to sing at the 9:30 and 10:45 both. So, and then following all that, we're going to have a meal downstairs, which feels really exciting because we haven't had a meal of that scale for a year and a half. So we're selling tickets for that. People can come down at noon on that Sunday, the 31st, and we'll have a short program. We're going to have some greetings in video form and some in person from former staff members, which is going to be really fun. They're going to be telling stories about their time at Trinity. So for those that have been around, there'll be some faces that they remember, and just a really great meal. So there are tickets available still at this point for the meal, but they are starting to go fast. So if you really want to be there for that meal and that program after the service, you want to be contacting the office now to get those tickets. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Not quite what we had envisioned, but kind of like this whole past year and a half, it'll be good. It'll just be different than we expected. So
I love the way that you especially describe that commission piece. It's as though all of our diversity and all of our different gifts, yet, we're recognizing that, and yet we're bringing it all together and into one piece that can celebrate us in our fullness, if you will.
yeah.
So I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat. I don't know if we've ever commissioned a piece. I mean, maybe it happened years ago, but I don't think anybody nobody has talked about it in a way that is remembered. So that's kind of neat that for this anniversary, where we maybe couldn't do all of the things we wanted to do, we have this really cool first as we celebrate our anniversary together.
Right. And with her being an up and coming composer, who knows where that goes in history, but it goes down in history as a piece, that has that Trinity Lutheran 150th anniversary tag to it. So that's lovely.
Yeah, it'll be great. So really grateful for our committee that has done this long, careful work of figuring out how to celebrate an anniversary like this. That group is headed up by Sharon Lindgren and Susan Schlitter, and it's just been a fantastic team that has walked through this time. So big shout out to them too this month as we wrap up that piece.
Absolutely. Lots of work, lots of planning. Oh my goodness, for not just short period of time, but like you say, for years, this has been in the works, and different events too, and adjusting to events that they thought they were going to be able to do that they're not able to do. And oh my goodness, yeah. What a tremendous job that they have done in challenging times that when they signed up to be a part of that, who knew? Yeah.
Oh, and that reminds me, the one other piece that has gone to the anniversary is the directory. And I know there are some folks that have been asking, well, we took our pictures way back in the spring. Where's the book? We took a little extra time into the summer to make sure we had as many people as we could include, just knowing the challenges of doing a directory again during COVID. But the final proof has now been sent back. So we're just waiting for them to get printed at this point. So it should be pretty soon. We don't have a date yet, but hopefully pretty soon we'll have those books in our hands. I know there are many that are eager to get those. So
yeah. And I got a chance to take a look at that final proof too. And it'll be really fun when that book comes out for people to see all of that. And it's just such a nice combination of pictures from the past as well as, people wearing masks, and everything in between, who we are.
Really is. Yeah. It'll capture this moment in history pretty well, I think.
It will. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So what else is going on this fall for us? It seems like we've got confirmation. What's happening we've got staffing changes, we've got confirmation. What should we tell people about that, Anne?
Yeah, probably one of the things, I mean, confirmation has been really different this fall for a couple of reasons. We had planned for a while, I think we've talked about this here too, of shifting confirmation to the fall. We like that for all kinds of reasons, better than doing it in May when it feels a little like graduation. That doesn't always seem helpful. And so we were planning on making that shift, but then with COVID, we had last year's ninth graders, this year's 10th graders get pushed back because we were trying to figure out a time when we could have them come and have their confirmation service in person, because that laying on of hands and all of the cool community celebration that happens around that is just not the same when you can't gather people. And so we ended up doing our 10th graders in September. And then we now have this year's ninth graders that we want to get on track. So then we're kind of in that pattern. So we have scheduled the ninth graders for November 14th. And so we'll have 2 confirmation celebrations about 2 months, a little less than 2 months apart. And the cool thing about that is we've been able to with our ninth graders, they're finishing up their interviews right now. We do a process in the ninth grade year where they do a one-on-one mentorship. They talk about some faith issues and practices with an adult mentor who's not a family member. And so that's been getting finished up for our ninth grade group. And then we do kind of a final conversation with them just to see kind of what they've learned and find out what we can learn from them about the process, and just to kind of talk about that transition into post-confirmation, high school, faith and church involvement. And the cool part of the timing of all of this has been having Christian Carlson, our new high school and young adult youth director, on board. He's the one who's been doing the ninth grade interviews. And so they're all getting this one-on-one opportunity to meet with him. And I'll sometimes be there to kind of welcome him, introduce him. But I mean, he is just enjoying that so much. I think the kids are enjoying him. Yeah. That's been fantastic. And then we've got a lock-in plan for them, but we'll celebrate ultimately with that ninth grade group in November. And that too has felt just really good, getting back into some of those rhythms that we really believe in, that we have seen work well in these transitions. It's been fun to get to do those fully again here this fall.
Yeah, lots of things happening, moving forward with confirmation, youth connections, call committee, all those things are happening all around us. So it is an exciting season in the church. Yeah. As you were talking, I have a window behind me, and I was watching, and all of a sudden I saw, all these little leaves fluttering by me. I love fall. I mean, this is like my favorite season of the year, to see that color, although it's not quite as vibrant this year as I like it to be. But what about you? Do you have a favorite season?
I love fall too. I love especially that part of fall where the weather is still warmish, but there starts to be a little bit of less humidity. It gets a little bit cooler at night. And being outside is like, fires are big for our family. We love to sit around the fire. We have fire rings at home. When we go camping, we do fire rings. So being able to have a fire is really fun. So I like fall, but it's a little bit of a non-answer, but I am an Iowa kid through and through, that I love all of the seasons for their change and the good stuff that each of them bring. I mean, there are things about each season I like, and there are things about each one that I don't like, but most of all, probably, I like the change from one to the next. I love that right about the time you kind of start to get used to one, then it changes to something different that just seems to fit for me pretty well. But I think, yeah, there's great meaning in that when you think about the seasons as a parable for life and for faith, and you've talked about that. And just the other day with the staff, you were talking about that in our devotions about fall and in the way that seasons embrace loss and change because there's new life around the corner. And you talked about, I don't remember the author that you're quoting now, but talking about leaves that fall and how underneath it often reveals on trees the bud that will come forth in spring is already present when the leaf falls off, or something like. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you're getting that right. Yeah, I've been really stuck on that devotional too. You know, it was about October trees and the way October trees are speak to us as human beings. And the first thing that caught my attention was the fact that we should listen to the October trees and watch how the leaves easily let go of their leaves. The
That's
trees
it.
let go of the leaves, and and we as human beings don't always let go of things so easily. I think about that myself. I think about people that I hear that are downsizing, which I should probably do too. It's just like sometimes it's hard. And in the church, we've had to let go of a whole lot of things and expectations of what we thought things were going to be. And so every time I watch these leaves now go down, I go, oh, they're letting go. What's it supposed to tell me?
Yeah.
But then the other side of that is as they let go, it reveals how there's already another bud that's going to go through winter, but in spring will bring new life. And so yeah,
It's a
I'm with
fantastic.
you. I love fall. As a Minnesota kid, I like winter too, because that's what we had a lot of. So I love the changes, but they always speak to me about life, and for everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. Time to be born and a time to die. And I quote that to myself many times, in just seasons of life. And yeah, I wish it was that season, or I wish this season would come, but let's appreciate this season.
Yeah, it's so helpful, I think, especially now to think about that imagery. And it is resurrection hope too, right? That you're talking about, that even in what looks like loss and death, if you use the seasons as a image, there's also always life that's on the way in that. And I think that's really hopeful and beautiful. And we experience that in church life right now, right? Like there's wonderful new stuff that's happening. It's exciting. There's also some kind of looking around and going, man, we're still not back. We don't quite see everybody, or it feels different, but even in the midst of that, there's also signs of new life, new people that have emerged. I'm just reminded of, was a Bible study here recently, and somebody who, a couple that has been worshiping with us online for a year has now moved to town, and they have started coming in person. And in the midst of, having some people that we're missing, and we know that they're not there because they can't be yet, or they don't feel like they are ready to be, that there's also brand new people and energy and programs and ideas and needs that can be met and opportunities. So it is like the season's always a mixed bag in some ways, but there's always life coming. That's
Yeah,
Easter hope kind of talk, right? There's always life coming.
that's right. And that, the resurrection truth is that Good Friday comes first.
Yeah.
We can't deny our losses. We can't not grieve what is and what was. But we are people of the resurrection. We know that death is not the last word.
Yeah.
Loss is not the last word. And so that's I think in some ways what we're living right now as a church is, yeah, you can look at the losses and the things that aren't the way that they were, or you can look at all the new life that is coming and is yet to be that we aren't seeing yet, and say, yeah, but God is still at work, and God's making things happen that we don't even know what they are right now. So
Just like winter, right? Winter's not the end. It looks like it, looks a lot like it, right? Stand out on a January day and look at the yard and be like, how will this ever bloom again, right? When it's frozen like ice. But yeah, it does. It does.
but when the sun shines on that snow and it sparkles, oh, come on, there's nothing better.
I'm with you. I mean, yeah. Winter has its beauty too, especially a clear sunny day. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's good.
Oh,
Good stuff.
well, it's only October, so we better not be wishing for snow too soon.
Yeah, we
But
probably just depressed a whole bunch of people by talking about January, but
I was going to say, do we dare leave on the note of snow? I don't know.
right, right. Summer's
Stay
coming.
tuned for November. We'll try to talk about sunshine, you know.
Right, right.
Oh,
Good.
so, well, anyway, here's another edition of Coffee with the Pastors. And so glad for all of the folks that have joined us for this conversation. And I always enjoy it and always feel like in some ways the Spirit moves through this time that we share together in whatever it is that we talk about, but also hopefully in those that are listening in, that they get a sense of that Spirit and the way that the Spirit continues to connect us and connecting us in ways that we never imagined, but the unity and the blessing that there is in the midst of all of it. So thank you so much, Pastor Dan, for being with me, and thank you for everybody who's joined us, and God's blessings to you all.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.